Welcome back once again to the Imaginary Gallery. It's TJ, your host. Tonight's discussion will be led from another book I haven't mentioned yet, which is, it's called Puzzling People, The Labyrinth of the Psychopath. It's written by Thomas Sheridan, and yes, I must admit, I did browse on YouTube one particular day and found a bunch of his talks and thought, well, that sounds interesting, and I ordered the book promptly. So out of respect for him, I will not plagiarize his work, but I will draw a few points from it. Now, he's talking about the psychopath. That is one of numerous cluster B personality disorders, which I have found that the information herein also applies to the narcissist, the covert especially, and other cluster B types. So, let's not think about labels. But there is a section in his book which states, when the game is finally up. He tells us that at times these creatures can seem to react with what looks like proto-emotions, and even sometimes a primitive fear of regret. Only this regret is not so much for other people as it is for the consequences of their ruthless behavior rebounded upon themselves alone. They simply regret the loss of their freedom, their resources, and their options for continual escape and reinvention. Now, of course, this type of regret never had anything at all to do with any kind of inner soul-searching that this creature might partake in, because, face it, they do not have such abilities. That's not even in the cards. However, even in the midst of this creature's darkest hour, they can change in an instant, from regretful depression to instant happy optimism, if the possibility of a get-out clause or a new form of prey enters their sight. A win is a win to these people. They'll gladly take any win they can get. This is often seen in court, where these creatures who are accused of the most horrifying crimes will express literally joyful celebrations if they get an appeal, even when the victims and or families are present in the courtroom that he murdered. An example he gives is after a 2010 mistrial was declared by a specific court, a specific killer was spared receiving the death penalty for the murder of so-and-so in 1997. Upon the verdict, he was not going to be executed, but instead was going to go back to prison for life. This creature leaned back in his chair in the courtroom and announced to the victim's family, "Ha ha ha! I won!" Sick. Reactions like this one can border on surrealism. Such is the creature's lack of guilt, coupled with their inability to admit any wrongdoing. Next, Sheridan mentions Mark Hoffman. Mark Hoffman was a forger of rare documents and a ruthless murderer whose victims included members of the highest agencies in the U.S. government and the Mormon Church, reptilian. When Hoffman's schemes began to unfurl, he constructed bombs to murder 2 people in Salt Lake City. Now, in an interview in 1987 regarding the forgeries, he stated, quote, "It's not so much what is genuine and what isn't, as what people believe is genuine. When I forged a document and sold it, I was not cheating the person. that I was selling it to because the document would never be detected as being a fraud. Obviously, if I would have known they would someday be detected, I wouldn't have done it. I didn't feel like I was cheating them. Well, Mr. Sheridan says that this response is a very clear insight into the cluster B creature's mind as one can get. We see this kind of twisted, perverse sense of, quote, logic, unquote, in all of these sick individuals, from the politician who gets caught red-handed taking part in corrupt activities such as Hillary Clinton with her email ridiculousness, to the relationship psychopaths rationalizing their devious machinations. They will never admit in any direct way a meaningful acknowledgement of any kind of guilt. Many times, friends, colleagues, co-workers, and family members, and others who are still enamored with these creatures will go to extraordinary lengths to legitimize this creature's excuses. On a radio show regarding former U.S. President Bill Clinton's lying under oath about having sex with Monica Lewinsky, Gore Vidal responded by excusing Clinton's behavior, declaring that it was not actual virginal sex with Monica, since Clinton's Southern Baptist culture, oral sex does not count as sex. Eventually the time comes when even the most loyal enablers of any of these creatures, they've had enough. This is because the creature never reforms nor comes to terms with the errors of its ways. They will indulge you with endless promises of having finally learned from their mistakes, but it's all simply lies to shut you up. In the 1971 cult movie A Clockwork Orange, there's a depiction of a scientific attempt to reform a psychopath named Alex, Malcolm McDowell, by means of behavioral therapy, hopefully resulting in his aversion to sex and violence. Alex indulges his reformers and cures himself of his pathology. His final line in the movie is, "I was cured, all right," as he vividly anticipates the resumption of his evil, wicked lifestyle. Next is the long goodbye. Anybody who's ever been in a relationship with one of these creatures will be well aware of the empty threats they can often make to leave you, which I personally find to be appalling. If you have invited a person into your home and the two of you are dependent upon the other to keep that home going, and then one of them says, "I'm leaving," that is total cruelty. But this type of person knows very well that the false sense of dependency which it's fostered within your subconscious mind will prevent you from letting them walk out the door. That carefully orchestrated moment when this creature goes into the bedroom, grabs a suitcase and opens it up, and starts putting junk into it, clothing, waiting for you to plead, "Oh, please don't go. Let's talk about this." Manipulation. The victim or the target never sees the smirk, which is the duper's delight that they show, as this predictive programming that they've placed upon the target pays off by being begged to stay. If this is the situation you're currently in, why not try throwing their suitcase and belongings out onto the street and slamming the door behind them? When you're in a relationship with this type of creature, there are far worse things than being alone. It's better to be out of work than remaining in a job where a creature, either your boss or coworker bully, is making your life miserable. There's no point in looking for justice from external forces in many cases. The only one who can attain this is you. And you get real justice by reclaiming your personal, psychological, and spiritual independence. Then, if you walk away and get on with your life, you've won.
So what if Amy Winehouse was a man? I used to be a man too. We're in the same club.
They tried to make me go to rehab. I said, no, no, no. Yes, I'm a man. When I come home, I'm going, no, no, no. I never did mind about the little things.
Say it!
Say it! Say it!
Say it!
So, just to set the record straight, the only person that I have any feelings for is me, which means I get what I want at whatever cost. I don't care who gets hurt. I get what I want because I am the Narcopath and you're not. Don't forget it. Say it!